Welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, a quick warning about Bramble. This game deals with some pretty dark and heavy themes, as you can see in the game's opening graphic here, so just warning you now. That being said, let's see what Bramble, the Mountain King, is all about. At its core, Bramble is a linear adventure horror game set in a mythical Nordic woods where you play as a young boy named Ole searching for his captured sister. From the moment you leave the boy's house, the game quickly descends into this dark but beautiful fantasy wilderness where surprises, both good and bad, await around every corner. It doesn't take long for the game to escalate from a slightly eerie walk through the woods with your sister, which can be spooky enough, to dodging absolutely grotesque monsters trying to literally bite your head off. Gameplay-wise, you will be alternating between light puzzles, stealth moments, and intensely timed cat and mouse chase sequences with extremely dark and towering creatures. In terms of gameplay influences, Bramble takes heavy inspiration from the Little Nightmare games, which by the way is a good thing. Most notably, the game controls your camera perspective at virtually all times, forcing you to live out the game's often creepy set pieces in a very specific way. It's almost like playing out a cinematic video more than an actual game, even though you are in complete control of what is happening with your character on screen. This creates dramatic, life-or-death moments constantly, with the game drip-feeding glimpses of the monsters who are trying to kill you. For example, the game may zoom out when you're running through the forest to show a glimpse of something in the background, but it will then do the opposite during a gameplay sequence where you really feel the intensity and the power from the monsters of trying to survive. This style choice allows the game to show off lighting effects and other visual clues that set a very atmospheric tone from start to finish. This is very similar to what the Little Nightmares games strive to accomplish, making you feel wonderfully uncomfortable in the hands of exactly what the developers want you to feel. If you couldn't tell, the overall visual tone and environments are the highlight of the entire game, along with the creature, trolls, and monster designs with all their Nordic influences. Almost every new chapter was interesting and kept you guessing. That being said, where the game can feel a bit awkward at times is with how Oleg controls. Your main character feels a bit floaty and stiff at the same time, which is kind of hard to explain. The character models of the two kids are also a bit unsettling and clash occasionally with the beautiful environments. Perhaps this is better played on other platforms since it can be a little distracting at times, so just something to think about. Also, to be fair, the awkward movement is mostly offset by forgiving platforming, not requiring you to do anything too crazy or technical until the final boss. Every environment performed well, with the exception of a Silent Hill-esque town towards the end of the game where you are being chased from zombies that drags on a bit too long, isn't super fun, and I experienced multiple glitches while playing. Again, the rest of the game performed great and was more enjoyable than this sequence, and even with some of these performance issues, it shouldn't really affect your enjoyment of the game all too much. Difficulty-wise, Bramble has one of the more forgiving reset systems I've seen, which as someone who doesn't have a ton of time to play games to really master them, this is perfect. If you die, you will pretty much restart right where you left off, which I personally love. This may take the challenge out of the game for more hardcore gamers, but for someone like me, this is awesome for getting to experience the story without getting too caught up in mastering the gameplay. This also allows the developers to insert a lot of little jump scares and moments that you're not expecting without getting frustrating. It really allows them to visually tell the exact story they want. Speaking of the story, the game is broken into chapters featuring a narrator off-screen who does a serviceable job. I don't particularly enjoy this kind of storytelling in a video game per se, but it makes sense given the game's creepy storybook mythical lore, nature, and the visual storytelling trumps anything the narrator says. Bramble, the Mountain King, is a delightful trip into a very creepy but approachable Nordic fantasy world, highlighted by movie-esque action set pieces in a similar style to the Little Nightmares games. The game does have some lower budget indie influences, but these mostly come across as charming and inventive versus anything too distracting. I'll say it again though, this is not a game for kids at all, with some gruesome moments throughout the entire journey that will have you wincing. In terms of cost, at $40 for a physical copy, Bramble is a bit steep pricing wise for what amounts to a relatively short adventure, but it is definitely a game I recommend if you want a creepy and visually interesting single player indie horror experience. Peace out, everyone.